Greetings, fellow dungeon delvers, and welcome to DORAN'S and Dragons, where we work together to come up with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition builds for your favorite League of Legends champions. Today we're building Kassadin, the Voidwalker. Kassadin was a Shuriman guide and explorer who often escorted merchant caravans across the Great Desert. He spent years exploring the Shuriman ruins, and eventually met the love of his life on one of these trips. They married and had a daughter. While Kassadin was returning from a journey to Piltover, they encountered a group of fleeing people who had survived a terrible attack. Kassadin rushed back home to find his village destroyed and his wife and daughter gone. He spent years trying to drown his sorrows and forget them, but then a rumor floated to him about a prophet of the void stirring things up in Icathia. He journeyed all around Valoran, calling in every favor from every friend he'd ever made, and armed himself to the teeth with the best equipment he could have forged for him. His final piece was a weapon he had found ages ago, the Netherblade of Harok. This powerful weapon was used centuries ago to combat the same foe Kassadin would be facing today. With this blade, he would slaughter the creatures that took his family from him. Before we get started with the build, go ahead and like the video and hit that subscribe button so you're always notified when we release our builds. We'd like to take a minute and thank our awesome patrons over on Patreon, who support us every month. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on and the hamsters running on their wheels. One of our rewards for our patrons is monthly homebrewed content. This month's homebrew is Welcome to the City of Tomorrow, based on Piltover. We released last month's homebrew, Ascent to the Radiant Summit, onto DM's Guild if you're interested in seeing that. Come join us over on Patreon if you're interested in supporting the channel and getting access to some great content. Alright, now let's get into it. First, let's cover the goals of this build. We need to bond Kassadin to his Netherblade and give it that powerful void-tinted edge. We also need to be able to blink around like a maniac, giving anyone trying to pin us down a hard time. Finally, we need to be able to manipulate some void-like energy ourselves. For race, we're going to go with Scourge Aasimar. The Voidstone is definitely tainted Kassadin, but if you want to go Variant Human instead, we totally understand. Scourge Aasimar gain +2 to Charisma and +1 to Constitution. We also pick up Celestial Resistance, which cuts radiant and necrotic damage we take in half. Then there's Healing Hands, which lets us heal a creature for our level and hit points once per long rest. Lightbearer is another feature we get that gives us a light cantrip. I would recommend flavoring it a purplish glow if your DM is cool with that. Finally, we get the Radiant Consumption feature at level 3. As an action, you can unleash the void energy from within, giving yourself a 10-foot aura of bright light and pain for a minute. During this, once per turn, you can deal your level and extra radiant damage to one target when you deal damage with a spell or attack. At the end of each of your turns, you and any creature in your aura take radiant damage equal to half your level rounded up. Remember to cut that damage in half for yourself though, thanks to Celestial Resistance. This ability charges on a long rest. For background, we're going to go with Far Traveler. Kassadin was an explorer and guide to many folk from many places. He gained skill proficiencies in Insight and Perception, as well as the All Eyes on You feature. Everything about you screams foreign to people you meet on your journey, which you've learned to parlay into gathering information and getting audiences with important people. For stats, balance must be preserved, so we'll be going with the standard array. Rolling is officially null and void for this build. If you're going to defy the Voidwalker though, keep at least a 13 in Charisma and Intelligence for multi-classing purposes. Speaking of, let's start off with our Charisma. Kassadin had a strong standing with the people he guided, and this surely helped. Next is Intelligence. Traveling with the wide array of people he encountered gave him a well-rounded knowledge of the world. After that, we'll go with Constitution. Living as a desert nomad and traveling as much as Kassadin did builds up a sturdy body. Adding in the struggles he's faced against the Void makes this a no-brainer. Wisdom's going to be next for all the reasons we listed for Constitution as well. They kind of go hand in hand. Dexterity is going to be our average score, since Kassadin really doesn't need this stat, but it provides more utility than strength, which we're going to dump. The only equipment we're going to use for this build is a Shortsword, which we'll flavor into an Arm Blade, which will also represent the Netherblade of Harok. Alrighty, let's kick things off by bonding to our Netherblade with some levels in Warlock. Now Warlocks are super front loaded, so if you're not sitting down, maybe you should be. Warlocks have a D8 hit die and start with proficiencies with light armor and simple weapons. We also get to choose 2 skill proficiencies. We'll honor Kassadin's travels and relic hunting with Arcana and History. Level 1 Warlocks choose their otherworldly patron. Kassadin made his choice the moment he snapped on the Netherblade, and that is for the Hexblade. Hexblade Warlocks become Hex Warriors. which improves your proficiency to include medium armor, shields, and martial weapons. You also get to choose one weapon to infuse the energy of your patron with, and allow you to use charisma for your attack and damage rolls with said weapon. We also get Hexblade's Curse. Once per rest, you can curse the target for a minute with your bonus action. This curse gives you a bunch of benefits. You deal extra damage equal to your proficiency bonus, you land critical hits on 19s and 20s, and if you kill that target, you heal back hit points equal to your warlock level plus your charisma mod. We also get a few extra spells granted to us by the Hexblade. The important one we're going to focus on is Shield, which will work as the shielding portion of our Q, Null Sphere. Shield is a spell that can be used as a reaction to add +5 to your AC until the start of your next turn. Finally, we also get some spells and cantrips to use with our atrocious Pact magic slots. Pact magic simplified is a teeny tiny pool of spell slots that recharge on a short rest that are always cast at their highest level. Now as always, we're only going to focus on the Kassadin specific spells. The only cantrip we're going to pick up here is going to be our Null Sphere in the form of Eldritch Blast. Eldritch Blast lets you make a spell attack roll and deal 1d10 force damage on a hit. When you're only attacking a single target, there's no reason you can change it from being a blast into a type of sphere attack, so that's what we're going to go with. Next level, we're going to put a little more oomph into this, and when we get to later levels, you'll be able to fire off multiple attacks. If you choose to hit the targets lined up close to you, you can easily reflavor this as our E, Force Pulse. Finally, we'll pick up the Hex spell. This is going to be a strong damage bump. It'll also later enable us to Riftwalk every turn, as long as there's an enemy with this spell ticking on them. Anytime you hit with an attack roll, so Eldritch Blast or with our blade, you deal an extra 1d6 necrotic damage to the target. You also give them disadvantage on ability checks from an ability of your choosing. If the spell is ticking when the creature dies, you can use your bonus action on your next turn to apply it to someone else. Okay, for real, that was the longest level breakdown we've ever done, but totally worth it because Hexblades are dumb strong. Second level Warlocks learn their Eldritch Invocations, which are passive benefits and one-off power-ups Warlocks have to make up for their god-awful number of Pact slots. We get them sporadically as we level up, so I'm going to include them all here now. Feel free to slot them in whenever appropriate. Agonizing Blast adds our Charisma mod to our Eldritch Blast damage, which is a huge damage bump. Lance of Lethargy allows us to slow one of the creatures we hit with Eldritch Blast by 10 feet until the end of our next turn, giving us our Force Pulse. Improved Pact Weapon is kind of a spoiler for our Pact Boon next level, but what can you do? Our weapon gains a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls, and can be used as a spellcasting focus for our Warlock spells, so your Q will actually fire out of your blade like it's supposed to. Eldritch Smite is going to be our W Netherblade. Once per turn, when you land a hit with your Pact weapon, you can expend a Pact slot and deal 1d8 force damage, plus 1d8 for each level of the spell slot, and you knock the target prone if it's huge or smaller. No save. This is going to be 68 by our 9th level in Warlock. Don't sleep on this kind of damage. Thirsting Blade is the extra attack feature every other martial class gets at level 5, letting us attack twice per attack action. Finally, we'll take Relentless Hex, which is going to be the main way we use our R, Riftwalk. As a bonus action, you can magically teleport up to 30 feet within 5 feet of any target affected by Hex or your Hexblade's Curse. You can inflict this on separate targets, and blink between them on each turn, damaging each of them. This isn't optimal, obviously, but it's super cool and it'll be memorable at the table. Level 3 Warlocks choose their Pact Boon. The Netherblade is going to be enhanced and grant us some more Eldritch Invocation options with Pact of the Blade. We covered the Eldritch Invocation unlocks, so the only relevant part to use here is that our Netherblade is now going to be considered magical when it comes to overcoming resistances and immunities to non-magical damage. We also pick up our second level spells here. Misty Step is going to be another way we Riftwalk. As a bonus action, you teleport up to 30 feet to an empty space you can see. Now, unless you're using this to escape, or you haven't hit level 7 yet, I would recommend spending the Pact slot on Hex instead to use Relentless Hex as your mobility tool. 4th level Warlocks gain the first ability score improvement of the build. I think the Feet Gods are getting worried that I've abandoned them. Unfortunately, this video is only going to solidify those fears because we're going straight stat increases again. Take 2 points to our Charisma for improved Netherblade and Null Sphere damage. Level 5 Warlocks pick up another Eldritch Invocation. Check our earlier list for a good choice there. We also learn our 3rd level spells. Thunderstep is like the opposite of your ult. In League, when you Riftwalk, you give the boom when you land after teleporting. In D&D though, you make the boom on your way out instead. You teleport yourself to any empty space up to 90 feet away. Any creature within 10 feet of where you were needs to make a con save or take 3d10 thunder damage. You can also carry along a friend if you'd like. 6th level warlocks unlock Accursed Specter. Now this isn't very Kassadin related, but it's still cool. Whenever you kill a humanoid, you can raise its spirit as a specter to fight for you until the end of your next long rest. Level 7 warlocks learn another Eldritch Invocation. This time, definitely pick up Relentless Hex, so the build is almost entirely online at this point. We also learn 4th level spells. Keeping up with our teleportation spell trend, we're going to take Dimension Door. You can teleport yourself and one willing creature anywhere within 500 feet that you can accurately describe the location of, visualize, or can see. 8th level warlocks gain another ability score improvement. We're going to max our charisma with a point and start angling towards our intelligence next with a point as well. Wait, intelligence? Why do we need intelligence? Why don't I answer that with a few levels in Wizard? Wizards have a d6 hit die and give us no new proficiencies. We do get Arcane Recovery though, which will allow us to recharge some of our spell slots once per day during a short rest. Speaking of spell slots, we also learn 1st level wizard spells and cantrips. We're going to give ourselves some additional ways to get the damage portion of our Riftwalk with Thunderclap and Thunderwave. Thunderclap is a cantrip that hits each creature around you in a wave of a sound. Each creature within 5 feet needs to make a con save or take 1d6 thunder damage. Thunderwave is the big boy version of Thunderclap. The range bumps up to a 15-foot cube and the damage scales up to 2d8. Additionally, any creature that fails the save gets knocked back 10 feet from you. Ideally, you'd use these spells after using one of your teleportation abilities for full flavor. 2nd level wizards choose their Arcane Tradition, which is the school of magic they'll be focusing on. We're going to go with School of Conjuration to get even more teleporting in. I learned about this amazing school of magic and its features way back in the research phase for our Ezreal build. Minor Conjuration allows you to flash your Mastery 7 icon whenever you'd like, or conjure any object no longer than 3 feet and weighing no more than 10 pounds. We also unlock Conjuration Savant, which reduces the cost and time to add a new conjuration spell to your spellbook by half. Level 3 wizards learn 2nd level spells. Now, this is a little disappointing, but with Misty Step taken, I don't see any Kassadin specific ones here. If you think of any, head down to the comments and let us know. 4th level wizards pick up another ability score improvement. We're going to keep chugging along on the stat train and put another 2 points into our intelligence. Level 5 wizards learn 3rd level spells. We're going to choose Slow here for the slowing portion on our Force Pulse. Slow lets you choose 6 creatures in a 40-foot cube and force a wisdom save on them. If they fail, they suffer the following negative effects: half speed, a -2 to AC and Dex saves, and it can't use reactions. On their turn, they can either use an action or a bonus action, but not both. Regardless of extra attack or multi-attack features, it can only attack once. Finally, if they cast a spell, roll a d20. If it's 11 or higher, the spell can't be cast until the creature's next turn, and it takes the full action on that turn to even cast it. The wisdom save can be attempted at the end of each of its turns to try and break the spell. 6th level wizards gain the whole reason we picked up this subclass, Benign Transposition. As an action, you can teleport up to 30 feet to an empty space, or swap positions with a willing creature. So if you see someone jumping on your vulnerable ADC or healer, swap them out for your awesomeness and punish them for having the nerve. One of the coolest parts of this ability is that it recharges on a long rest, or after you cast a conjuration spell of 1st level or higher. We're going to end up with 13 spell slots, so this can be used quite a bit before a long rest, when they all come back and we can do it again. Alrighty, now it's time to head back to Warlock and finish up unlocking the abilities of our Netherblade. Level 9 Warlocks learn another Eldritch Invocation. We also learn our 5th level spells here. This is another case where none are really ideal for Kassadin, but again, feel free to shoot us your thoughts in the comments below. 10th level Hexblades unlock Armor of Hexes, allowing you to roll a d6 anytime your Hexblade cursed target attacks you. On a 4 or higher, it misses, regardless of the roll. I have seen this feature mitigate DM crits, and saw that same DM collapse into a pile of sadness. That DM was me. It was awful, but I was also happy for the character who did it. D&D is quite the emotional roller coaster. Level 11 Warlocks pick up their 6th level Mystic Arcanum. Mystic Arcanum are high level Warlock spells that can only be cast once per long rest. We're going to learn Arcane Gate for even more teleport options. Choose a point within 10 feet of you, and another one up to 500 feet away. A 10-foot wide portal between the 2 points springs up, allowing you to travel instantaneously between the 2 points. 12th level Warlocks pick up the final ability score improvement of the build. We'll round off our intelligence with a point and take a point in Constitution as well. Level 13 Warlocks learn their 7th level Mystic Arcanum. We're going to pick up our final teleportation ability with Plane Shift. You and up to 8 willing creatures link hands and sing Kumbaya I mean teleport to a different plane of existence based on your DM's discretion, unless you go to a specific teleportation circle. You can also use this spell to banish a creature to a different plane if it fails a Charisma saving throw. 14th level Warlocks unlock Master of Hexes. Now just like Hex, whenever we kill a creature afflicted by our Hexblade's curse, we can apply it to another target within 30 feet unless we're incapacitated. This is going to allow you to completely take over combat encounters. So a cool combat interaction will be something like this. You slay your Hexblade's curse target with one of your Netherblade strikes, you move it to another creature as a free action, Relentless Hex teleport to that creature as a bonus action, and use your second Netherblade attack with Eldritch Smite applied to deal a crazy amount of damage. Alright, now that we've completed the build, let's see how we did. First, the good. If you blink, you will literally miss Kassadin as he darts, dives, and ports across the battlefield like a maniac. Our Netherblade is awesome, and we deal a surprising amount of damage. We also provide a decent amount of protection and utility to our allies with our spells as well. Finally, I think this build has a ton of potential with flavor and just straight up fun. Now the bad. We didn't get to max our intelligence, unfortunately, and we're not the tankiest character either, but these are actually pretty minor gripes. I'm very happy with the build overall. So, what'd you think? I've included a link to this build via D&D Beyond in the description below, as well as Amazon links to the books used in this build. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We have a few awesome rewards, including access to our Discord community and monthly homebrew releases. We plan on churning out one League Champion build every week. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you on the Rift, or in the Forgotten Realms.